Yep, over the past few months I've started to get a lot more LAN experience. Played Ufinity recently, DreamHack, Asus ROG and such, so I'm starting to get a lot more used to it. I think the first few events it was very stressful traveling. It's not like it's very different from playing at home. I think you hear players say that a lot, and it's very true. I think in terms of playing correctly, it's much more difficult when you're not at home, you're not comfortable, you're out of your comfort zone. But yeah, the LAN experience is definitely something I enjoy. I think meeting players, because often you know someone for months and in some cases years, and you never ever meet them until you both qualify for the same LAN event. And you actually get to put a face to that name who you've been speaking with for. I think I'm very excited to meet Nyria here actually. I've known him for years and I can remember him back in the beta actually. I only met him once at DreamHack and I didn't get much of a chance to talk to him. So since he's native Ukraine, I'm hoping he can kind of show me around here, and I'm very excited. I actually know very little about Kiev and Ukraine, so it'd be it's a very different culture, I could tell just from the drive here. I actually know no stereotypes from for Ukraine. The only thing I do know is I used to compete in fencing, and we would always hate having to play against the Ukrainian fencers because they were very good. That's the one thing I know about Ukraine. I think everyone has a chance in Hearthstone to make it through to the end. And when I was told I was playing StarLadder, I put 100% into it. I studied very hard of each of my opponents because in the first stage, you knew exactly who was in your group. So yeah, I was very lucky to make it through actually, because I technically didn't qualify the first time. Someone had to drop out, and me and Lostov had to play to figure out who would come. And yeah, I was very lucky to actually be able to compete here. Oh, it was off stream, yes. And I actually lost to him, which was very unfortunate. But then because of such short notice, he wasn't able to get a visa. So I had 5 chances to make it. Twice in the group, I failed, and then I lost in the last chance against Kalento, and I failed, and I got a chance against Lostov, and I failed. And so the fact I'm here, I'm really lucky. I definitely am not the favorite. Well, the match which is most memorable for me is I had a hungry crab from Web Spinner, and my opponent had a bluegill drop from his shredder, and I completely forgot about the interaction between hungry crab and bluegill, and I forgot to eat the murloc. And the casters were really upset with me, and afterwards I was really upset with myself. That was such a terrible thing to forget. I won the match anyway because I was quite far ahead at that point, but yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to be kicking myself for a while. Before I played Hearthstone, I was at university studying computer science, and my hobbies at the time were fencing and archery, and I was very competitive in fencing especially. And I actually suffered a wrist injury, and I was told by doctors I couldn't do any of my hobbies anymore because they were all very strenuous on my wrist. And so for about a week I didn't know what to do with myself. I was kind of at home, bored, and I got my Hearthstone beta invite. And I played a lot the first few weeks, and a friend told me, he linked me something, and I clicked on it, and it was the rankings from Blizzard. And I was ranked #1, and I was absolutely shocked. I hadn't even crafted my first legendary yet. I just had a very good streak on ladder that week. And after that, I started looking into the competitive scene. It's like, okay, if I can get 1 on ladder, can I break into the competitive scene? Can I play this, perhaps professionally? And yeah, that was my break into Hearthstone. The first official match I played was for Take TV's Gentleman Cup, and it was a team league, and we had to our team had to qualify against and beat 2 other teams. And at the very end, we tied. We went 2-2 with the team, and the team had to pick 1 player each to send to decide who would actually enter the Gentleman's Cup and who would not. And we looked at the decks, and everyone kind of looked at me and said, your decks match up the best, you have to play. And so, yeah, it was a very stressful moment for me. I had a bunch of people looking at me, hoping to win. And yeah, I was able to do it. I was able to win 2-1. And that was my first kind of sort of break into the official Hearthstone scene. I think my favorite class is Rogue. I'm very sad because it's not actually in the meta right now. I can't actually play it competitively, but it's the first class I ever built a deck for, and I've loved all the playstyles of Rogue. I love the Miracle Rogue, I love Oil Rogue, I love the kind of the cycle a lot. then huge burst potential as a finisher. SI7 Agent is by hands down my favorite card. It's just such high value and such a big tempo swing in the early game. Following the meta, I'm actually a very standard player. I don't like to break the rules. I tend to bring the most common decks. I think it's a good thing I'm sort of popular with the teammates I am. I've got a lot of very experimental teammates who push me to try different decks. And often when they finally convince me to play something new, it ends up working out better. But yeah, I think following the meta is the safest route. But trying new decks has the potential. It can win you series and it can lose you series. I think all players play ladder a lot for practice, but I think our team is actually one who plays a lot more custom games and is a lot more structured than most. We have a very big team. We break off. We all practice different matchups. We're all told that about different decks are meant to be practicing. If a teammate thinks maybe you're not the best handlock player, they'll push you to play more handlock. If they think you're not the best patron player, they'll push you to play more patron. And yeah, we play a lot of custom games. And we do also a lot of kind of spectating other people play custom games and commentating, on their mulligans, on the decision making. Would you have made a different play? Would that play have actually affected the outcome of the match and all that? Do you think Patron will have a future after the Warsong Commander nerf? This is actually something we've been talking a lot because it's new, very new, and some pro players think it's still going to have a place as an anti-aggro deck. I don't think it's going to be good enough without the Warsong Commander to be a viable and competitive play. It's just going to have a 0% win rate against decks like Handlock and Freeze Mage, which I think makes it sort of unplayable. I think it's very interesting they've done this right before BlizzCon because it's going to reward the better deck builders because the meta is going to completely change. Patrons dictate the meta a lot, as people are going to have to come up with new lineups, new decks, and I think some players are better than others at that by a lot. And so, yeah, it'll be very interesting. I think it's going to make watching BlizzCon very, very interesting. I've always been a big Kolento fan. I think he's absolutely top tier. And obviously Tice right now is incredibly, incredibly hot. Just qualifying for BlizzCon, being the European champion. I think I'm a good Hearthstone player because I'm incredibly, incredibly competitive. I've competed since I was 9 years old. I competed in chess to begin with. Then fencing, I fenced on the GB national team, went to the under-20 World Championships. And yeah, as soon as I drop something, I immediately pick something else and just pour all my competitive energy into it. And I just try and figure out how to win. I used to, but recently I've been playing more and more and more Hearthstone until it's basically just my job, it's my hobby, it's what I do while I eat, it's what I think about when I sleep, and it's, yeah, Hearthstone's sort of become a bit life-consuming. I wake up about 8:30, I cook breakfast, usually an omelette, I take it upstairs, turn on my computer, and I start playing Hearthstone, and I play until about 12:30, and then I eat lunch, walk the dog, come back, play Hearthstone until about 10 at night. And yeah, during there's practice, there's watching streams, studying what other people are doing, but it's a lot of hours of Hearthstone. If I could change anything in Hearthstone, the first thing I would do is I would smash the Conquest format and make sure it never appears again. I think it's very bad for competitive play. It creates RNG before the matches begin, before you're even in game, and I dislike that. And the other card I would change is Mad Scientist. I think that's a broken card. At very least, I'd make it a 2-1, comparable to Loot Hoarder. I played StarCraft for a long time, and I wasn't top tier, but I was very, very good. And it's partly what contributed to my wrist injury, which sort of stopped me from playing and fencing and doing all my other hobbies. I don't think I'm fearless, especially when I'm here with Kolento and Tice. Everybody knows who they are. Everyone walks up and shakes their hand, and I'm kind of standing in the back. So I think hopefully I can smash them all in this tournament, and people will start to recognize me more. That's the plan. Basically, I just get to do what I love 24/7, and I get to, the people I practice with are all very good friends of mine. So it's like I'm constantly practicing with friends. It's a very good atmosphere. It's very competitive, which is what I, find a lot of enjoyment in. So, the worst part of Hearthstone is, of course, the RNG. When you play absolutely perfectly, but everything seems to go against you and you lose anyway. I think, to begin with, it bothered me a lot, but I've learned to accept it as Hearthstone. And over time, everything will theoretically average out. You'll get good draws, your opponent will get good draws. And you can't get too upset about losses like that. I'm absolutely living a dream. I'm traveling the world, I'm playing video games for money. It's like, I'm constantly, talking with my friends. It's like, yeah, just you're doing everything you want to do. My dad's actually the one who got me into video games. I can remember when I was really young, I could watch him playing, Diablo 2 and all of those games. And he was kind of, he bought me my first WoW account and all that. And yeah, so I think he's very supportive. I think it's a case of everything in moderation. If they're at school, they need to put the work in, but if they have, free time at the end of the day and they want to play games, it's fine, Yeah, once you make it into professional, then you can justify playing all the hours you do. But before you are, then you can't. So there's that kind of blurry line in the middle where are you playing too much? Should you be doing something else with your time? It's difficult. I follow StarCraft 2 as a fan. I think it's an absolutely great viewing, for viewing. I think Bomber is my favorite StarCraft 2 player. I just like the way he plays. You can watch a game and you can know that it's Bomber playing. I think everyone's answer is going to be the same. It's Tice. He's just won Worlds. He's just not Worlds, but European champion, qualified for BlizzCon. He's like the top of every single ranking boards there is. It's like everyone's hoping they're going to get lucky against him in the group stage. I don't think I'd make a good caster. I've got the British accent. There seems to be a lot of British casters, but I don't think I'd quite be good enough at it. A coach, though, I think I would be very good at. I like teaching. I've done some coaching in Hearthstone, and I think, yeah, I could do it. Well, our team has a dedicated coach, and it's very interesting. It's a lot more about setting practice hours, making sure people do what they're meant to be doing, and it's about, keeping notes, targeting what people's flaws are. Is there a certain deck they're weak at? Is it, are they having, mental trouble, in high tense matches, and dealing with that. It's not just about playing and giving feedback. That's what other players are for. Currently, I think if you're successful in ranked games, you can be, because the Conquest format is designed to be like Ladder. But Last Hero Standing becomes very, very different, or another sort of format, because you're preparing, counter decks which are built to beat decks other people are bringing, and it becomes a lot more about deck building, preparation, and bringing an overall good lineup. So I think if you are a good ladder player, you can, be competitive. Deck building is very, very difficult, and I'll be honest and say I'm not the best deck builder. I net deck a lot, and I talked a lot to other players and try and steal their decks that they're working on, especially from my teammates. So I'm not the best one to ask for advice. I think they would. I think I'm very analytical and got a sort of structured mind, a very structured approach to the game. So I think players would be happy to get advice from me. I think it's slowly shifted more and more from entertainment to a job. Like the second I kind of stopped everything else and started doing it for a living, it's like I've got to put the same amount of time and effort into it I would to a job. I think my only goal when I play Hearthstone is not to misplay, and I absolutely hate, after a match, going back through, watching the VOD and seeing something I did incorrectly, and that's something, yeah, I just never want to experience. I've done it a couple of times, and I hope I never have to do it again. Well, I'd obviously love to do Hearthstone for as long as possible. I absolutely enjoy it, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go from there. I was taking a degree in computer science. I might go back to that. I like fiddling with computers. So that might be one route I take. But I'm going to stick with the Hearthstone for as long as I can right now. Well, my favorite series right now is Game of Thrones. I absolutely love fantasy worlds. I read those books years and years ago, so it was really cool to see it turn to the series it did. I think my favorite book series is Pandora's Star, I think. That's the first book in the series, and that's a sci-fi series. I definitely do love both sci-fi and fantasy, my two favorite genres. It's got to be the Khaleesi, Queen of Dragons, of course. There's no one else even close to her. I've always been extremely competitive. I've always had that drive to win. When I sit down from anything, whether it's a board game, a school test or a video game, I just try and find out how to win, and I want to be that number one. I want to see my name on top of everybody else's, and I think that's my drive. I don't like being second. If you want to be the best at everything, you gotta make sacrifices. Some people sacrifice sleep, they make more time. Some people sacrifice, social life. If you want to focus on school and on gaming, it's you don't have time for everything. You've got to prioritize what you really, really want to do and what you get enjoyment out of. I think I'm absolutely able to win StarLadder. I'm gonna do it by getting really, really lucky. So I think it's the best strategy in Hearthstone. If you're a totally unlucky person, I would suggest maybe taking up chess, maybe taking up StarCraft, but Hearthstone isn't a place for you.